Hello, I'm Dr. John Long. I'm a senior lecturer in engineering at Deakin University. I'm here to introduce my good friends, Sam, Pat, Luke, and Neven. They're going to show you a great design in how to make a low-cost shelter for the tropical paradise of Fiji in the event of some kind of natural disaster.
The aim of our design project is to address the problem of having a lack of safe, sustainable and ethical shelters for those who have been affected by natural disasters in Fiji. This will be solved by designing a functional emergency shelter that fulfills the needs of its users, the Fijian community and the constraints of its clients, the Fijian government.
Many cyclones have brought destruction upon Fiji in the past. It is an area prone to these natural disasters, having on average between 10 to 12 cyclones per decade, with 2 to 3 of these causing severe damage. Cyclone Winston, the most powerful storm ever recorded in the South Pacific, occurred recently on the 20th of February 2016. The Category 5 cyclone pounded Fiji with wind speeds in excess of 176 miles per hour or 283 kilometers per hour. The fury of Windstone left a path of destruction, reportedly destroying 32,000 homes, leaving 150,000 Fijians without shelter. Not only did Cyclone Winston destroy tens of thousands of homes, it's devastated their croplands, putting them in desperate need of fresh food. Australia has donated $35 million so far, but that does not even come close to the enormous damage cost of $650 million. This shows the huge need of these cheap, reliable shelters that the Fijians can not only live in, but have the ability to rebuild their lives and create a better future for themselves.
Right, I'm here to ask you guys some questions about your project. Does the shelter hold at least 4 people?
You reckon we've got enough room?
Yes.
Can it survive the harsh Fijian climate?
This will survive better than Neven in the elements.
Does it have reasonable floor space?
Yes.
Is the pack shelter under 200 kilograms of gross weight?
Hey Luke, is it heavy?
Nah.
Is there much waste left over after you have your assembly?
No.
Does it provide adequate levels of natural ventilation?
Yes, it provides good airflow.
Does one shelter cost less than $1,200 to produce?
Look at all the savings.
Is the shelter made from sustainable and renewable materials?
Yeah.
When the shelter is packed, is the packaging reasonably rugged enough to survive transport?
These are instructions on how to build the shelter. Firstly, we will need to assemble the 2 parts of floor and connect them together. We will also need to connect the 2 walls, and from this we shall erect the walls, including the front wall. After this, the galvanized tubing shall be inserted into the floor connectors, as well as the side and top of the walls. The stilts may now be added. From this, the roof structure can be connected into the rest of the frame. From this, the panels may be added into the roofs and the window flaps inserted. This is the finished model.
Next, we will move on to the research and application of our project.
Geography and culture. Fiji is a country located in the South Pacific Ocean. It contains more than 300 islands in its entirety. The weather is warm all year round and humid, where the temperature ranges from 18 degrees to 30 degrees Celsius. The terrain of Fiji over all islands is very mountainous, where the majority of residents and their businesses on the mainland island Viti Levu are coastal based. This is due to the close proximity of the ocean and docks nearby. Not many people live inland due to the difficulty of delivery and transport of items, as the natural terrain is very difficult to venture through. The inland also contains more rain and landslides, and it is steep and contains a high annual rainfall. Fiji contains regular cyclone seasons and rain seasons throughout the year. Cyclones are a major problem in Fiji, where houses are destroyed as well as major infrastructure and other vegetation sources. These present problems such that food will need to be imported during the cyclone seasons, presenting possible food shortage problems, as well as most of the fresh produce grown on the island itself will not be available. November to April is the wet season in Fiji, and May to October are the dry seasons. The coastal regions contain around 3,000 mils, whilst the inland contains 5,000 of rain each year. English and Fijian are the main languages spoken throughout Fiji, with English being the most widely spoken. This is due to the tourism factor, which brings a lot of Western people over to Fiji, and the locals have adopted the language in order to overcome the communication barrier which once existed.
My research role was to investigate contemporary, existing and pre-existing designs of emergency shelters to gain more information about the general layout and unique functional design features that can be incorporated into our final design. Through my research, I came across 3 relevant disaster shelters, which I thoroughly analysed, researched for key design features. The 3 design features are the IKEA shelter, Better shelter and Hex house. The IKEA shelter utilises flat pack technology, therefore is smaller when packed, therefore a good size and can be fit into a shipping container. Also incorporated is a low cost of $1,200 per unit. It utilises a solar power system that allows the user to use lighting at night or to charge their phone. Secondly is the Better shelter. The Better shelter is actually already in use, therefore it's of a proven design. It's already been accredited by the UHNCR and is currently being used in Tanzania. The interesting design features are it uses prefabricated panelling for the walls, which allow it to be assembled quite easily, and it is quite large and fits up to 8 to 12 people in one single shelter for a low relative cost. Finally, there is the Hex house. The Hex house utilises stilts for uneven terrain, so then it doesn't require use for the terrain to be pre-levelled for the house to be situated. Also, the Hex house uses sustainable materials. The walls are made out of prefabricated paper, which has been pressed, therefore is very environmentally friendly. Thanks for listening.
The research that I conducted was about the materials we're going to use in the construction of our refuge shelter for the people of Fiji. I started out researching types of wood and came across a few decent, cheap woods that we could possibly use. The best one I found that I liked was coconut timber, due to it being a dense, strong and cheap wood that is readily available in Fiji. After extensive research into other materials, such as steel and tar, we decided that all types of wood would be too heavy in the construction of our shelter. The choice between galvanised steel and non-galvanised steel was a tough one. After extensive research, we decided we would use a form of galvanised steel to prevent oxidation. We found that the best way to create a lightweight, cheap shelter was to use galvanised steel pipes as the frame and put a tarp over the top. The tarp gave us the ability to easily create windows for good airflow and ventilation, as well as being very cheap. When deciding our choice for the materials of our wall, we had to consider the weight in relation to the shipping cost, and that was the biggest reason for us choosing tar, because not only does it lower the cost, it lowers the overall weight. The steel framing playing a big factor in the weight and cost of our structure, we found that if we could use a material for the roof with a high tensile strength, we could use PVC pipe for the framing of the roof. The need for a material like this led us towards colour-bond steel. The high tensile strength and lightweight nature were exactly what we were looking for. It gave us the ability to lower the amount of steel framing needed for the roof and in turn reduce the overall weight of the structure.
Transportation for our project is essential and is required to be cheap and have the ability to move many shelters quickly to fit in with our criteria. There are two possible ways to be considered when transporting our cargo to Fiji, and they are either by air or sea. Sea freight is one of the most widely used modes of transport when dealing with the large, heavy items that need to travel overseas. It is able to transport large volumes of product at a time quite cheaply. However, sea freight takes a considerable amount of time to move cargo. Air freight is the most widely used mode of transport when dealing with smaller and lighter items. Air freight is considerably more expensive to use than shipping by sea. The ability to fly cargo is controlled greatly by weather conditions. Cancellations of flights happen far more frequently than cancellations of sea freight. Considering the benefits of both modes of transport, we decided that sea freight fit into our design constraints better. The fact that it is cheaper than air freight and less restrictive by space means we will be able to ship many shelters at once for minimal cost. Although air freight is faster, having the ability to transport to Fiji within a few hours, the smaller distance between Australia and Fiji means that sea freight will be received within only a few days of shipping.
Next, we will have the criteria of our project.
This video will address the materials used in the shelter. The floor is made out of plastic crates, which is used from the shipping containers. These are folded out into the floor, and then laminate is placed on top, as you can see. Next, they've chosen to use galvanised pipe because it is relatively cheap, strong. Next are the walls. These walls are made out of plastic tarp or fabric tarp, and they are strong. They are able to withstand the wind. They are also being able to be folded up during transportation, which can save space. The roof is made out of colour-bond steel. I've done this so it will avoid oxidation, and it comes with the inbuilt skylight. The stilts have been added to suit different terrains and different levels. The internal floor space. This is a total of 30 square metres. 100% of the headroom is above 2 metres, so this here is 2 metres high. The beds, tables and chairs are all pre-bought in bulk and are able to be flattened. The windows here and here are made from breathable mesh, which is important for ventilation. All parts are designed to last at least 1 year, if not more, and the total cost is way under budget. It is actually $812.
Lastly, the conclusion.
By the end of week 12, the group has come to the conclusion that the goal is to be fully completed by the design and the research, so that the next day the project will be able to commence into stage 2. This stage will include buying the materials and goods and gathering them and putting them all into flat packs ready for distribution. In conclusion, the project shall be ready to implement at the end of week 12 if necessary. We want to help the people of Fiji to get back on track with their lives as quick as possible. The goal of the project for the team is obviously to design a shelter which will help the lives of others, but it is much more than that to us as team members. For us, our goal of the project is to develop as young engineers and develop some experience and wisdom for us from the whole project, to work with new people and develop skills which can't be learned from a textbook, but only developed by working with and feeding off other people. This is what we want to get out of the project. We hope that such a project will open our eyes into the engineering world.
Now you have all the information you require, and you can proceed with your experiment.